Welcome back to the session. Today we will discuss about the ethical theories that are a matter of concern for ethical decision making. In the last session we discussed about the dilemmas, decisional dilemmas that an engineer may face with respect to the different tasks at hand for the engineers, starting from the phase of maybe conceptualization of the design, then the preliminary analysis, final analysis, then working on that design, finding out suppliers, finding out the ways of doing things, again at the final implementation stage, and after that going for the maintenance phase. So at each and every phase there could be ethical decisional issues, dilemmas for the engineer, because at each of the stages there are different stakeholders who are connected, and there could be conflict of interest between these stakeholders, and it may be the case that we cannot satisfy the interest of all the stakeholders at a time, and we need to take a decision which is most ethical, in a most ethical way, and having a most ethical outcome, because we have always to remember that the primary responsibility of the engineers is to take care of the safety concern, the welfare and the health of the public at large. So it is a very huge responsibility, and for that each of the task phases of any engineering activities that are taken are very important, and for solving that we discussed, like to arrive at a proper ethical decision, there are certain moral theories which help us in taking those decisions, act as a support for us in giving us some guiding principles. In today's discussion, we will elaborate on those moral ethical pillars which help us to take a proper ethical decision. So let us see what are those moral pillars which guides us towards proper ethical decision making and help us to solve the dilemmas. There are 4 ethical theories that will be considered over here, and each is different according to what is held to be most important moral concept according to these 4 different pillars. So these 4 different pillars are known as utilitarianism, rights, duties and virtue ethics, and we will visit these each of them one by one. First we will go through the definition of it, and then we will have a detailed discussion about these theories with examples which will give us a clear idea of how these theories help us in ethical decision making. So what we can see, utilitarianism seeks to produce the most utility, which is defined as a balance between the good and the bad consequences of an action, taking into account the consequences for everyone affected. So what we get to see over here, it does a sort of cost benefit analysis in terms of, it tries to balances between the good effects and the bad effects, consequences of an action, and it also takes into account the consequences of everybody affected by it. So it takes care of the majority of the people who gets affected by the decision. A different approach is taken by the duty ethics. Duty ethics contains that there are duties that should be performed. For example, the duty to treat others fairly or the duty not to injure others, regardless of whether this act leads to the most good or not. So what we see in the utilitarianism, it speaks of the consequence, In duty, it talks of the process, like whether it leads to the most good for the most of people or not. It is a duty of certain duties that each one of us have towards the other party and or the other stakeholder, and we need to perform our duty towards the other stakeholder. Rights ethics emphasizes that we all have moral rights, and any action that violates these rights is ethically unacceptable. Like duty ethics, the ultimate overall good of the action is not taken into account. So, here also in the rights perspective, we see like the process is very important, and whether it is a right of every individual to have some moral rights, and if any action violates these rights, then it is not acceptable. And finally, when you talk of virtue ethics, it regards actions as right that manifest a good character traits, virtues, and regards actions as bad that display character traits which are vices. This ethical theory focuses on the type of person who is trying to make the decision, and what type of person we want to become, how we want to be known to the outside world, how we want to be known to ourselves, whether we want to be known as a virtuous person, how do I see myself. This talks of these character traits of people which manifest good characteristics, are virtuous in nature, and those which manifest bad characteristics, character traits, are called like they are vices. So, it is a choice of the individual, it is a choice of the company, how that organization or how that one individual or how that group wants to visualize oneself, and how they want others to visualize them also. Now, after this short introduction, we are going to discuss each of these theories in details with examples given for each. We will start with the utilitarianism. Utilitarianism holds that those actions are good that serve to maximize human well-being. Emphasis in utilitarianism is not on maximizing the well-being of the individual, but rather on maximizing the well-being of the society as a whole, and as such it is somewhat of a collectivist approach. So, what we try to think is what is a good, anything that we consider which is a good for the majority, we take it to be ethical in this perspective. So, these type of theories are utilized when we are going to take a decision about whether to build a dam or not to build a dam, because while building a dam there are different stakeholders whose interests will be there. So, there may be people living in that locality, there could be other issues like it could be the environment also is one of the stakeholders, then there could be other related issues also like displacement of people and all these things. But again, if we need to take a decision which is ethical or not, generally in decisions in these cases are taken where like we try to focus on the purpose of the dam for what it is built and the way that it is going to serve the interest of the majority of people, and where maybe we sometimes overlook the individuals benefit, and individuals like cost to the individual and the benefits or harm which is caused to the one individual, because what we try to think like the benefits that it is going to bring to the society at large. So, what we can see, dams often lead to a great benefit to the society by providing stable supplies of drinking water, flood control and recreational opportunities. However, these benefits often come at the expense of people who live in areas that will be flooded by the dam and are required to find new homes or lose the use of their land. Utilitarianism tries to balance the need of the society with the needs of the individuals. So, that is what we were discussing. There will be conflicts of interest of people staying in that place or whose area is going to get flooded. So, which is more, like this is where we do a cost benefit analysis. If you are trying to justify the building of the dam, how much benefit it is going to bring, to whom, at the cost of what, and to whom, and we need to make a balanced decision about it. There are two forms of utilitarianism, one that we call act utilitarianism and the other is rule utilitarianism. Act utilitarianism focuses on individuals' actions rather than rules. The best known proponent of act utilitarianism was John Stuart Mill, who felt that most of the common rules of morality, that is, don't steal, be honest, don't do harm to others, etc., are good guidelines derived from centuries of human experience of how doing this act has tried to protect the interest of the society at large, and from that this term has derived as act utilitarianism. Rule utilitarianism differs from act utilitarianism in holding that moral rules are most important. As mentioned previously, these rules include do not harm others, do not steal, these type of things, where we talk of guidelines that people need to follow. Rule utilitarianism hold that although adhering to these rules might not always maximize good in a particular situation, overall adhering to moral rules will ultimately lead to most good. So, if you see from the maybe short term perspective, like if you are talking of do not harm others, do not steal, etc., in terms of short term gain, maybe sometimes what happens, we are always not able to see the benefit coming out of these following these rules, but in the long term perspective, like when it has started yielding its result, then of course we can get to understand the the benefit of following these stated principles or rules. However, there are certain criticisms also of utilitarianism approach, and let us see what these criticisms are. So, there is always, as I was telling, a conflict of interest. So, it may so happen sometimes what is in the best interest for everyone may be bad for a particular individual or for a group of individuals. Like if we take the case for the dam, the people who have to shift from their original place of residence to find out a new place of residence because of this dam coming up, then there is an emotional attachment to the place. Maybe somebody is born and brought up in that place, and it's not only the cost for shifting, but it has an emotional cost also based on the attachment that you have to that particular land, and maybe it is from where you get your livelihood and other factors, and then there may be a sense of like loss of for the person if you are like asked to shift from there. And there comes again when we talk of compensating for that loss, which can be of equivalence, but we can never claim like we have exactly compensated for the harm provided or the loss provided to someone, because from the utilitarian perspective we are thinking of the benefit of the larger society. Because sometimes it is very vague to define, to map out who are this majority that we are talking of. Who decides who are this majority of people? How do we try to find out exactly who are using this, getting the benefits of the actions, and is it as much big as maybe compared to the cost which is involved, or what is the pain which is involved when the interest of other stakeholders are considered. So, what may be good for everyone may be bad for a particular individual or a group of individual, and but utilitarianism does not give much focus on it. Another object to utilitarianism is that implementation depends greatly on knowing what will lead to the most good. Now here is again a gray area, like who defines what is good and who defines what is most good. How do we know how much of doing something will lead to good and most good? So these are again very abstract definitions and hard to quantify, and we have to depend on the expertise of the people, maybe to experts, to define this. But what you think, the quantity that you think that is good, the consequence that you think is good for someone, according to that per groups, when you go and talk to that group, like you may be thinking like something is beneficial for me, but I may or may not think in the same way. So it is very difficult sometimes to understand like what exactly are the consequences of a particular action. So next we move on to the cost benefit analysis in engineering. So what we can understand from the utilitarianism perspective, there is a cost benefit component involved in it. Like the net benefit will come when we think of the cost involved, and we like take care of the cost and see like how we can answer to these issues, where what are the cost factors and how we can answer to those issues. So in cost benefit analysis, the cost of a project are assessed, as are the benefits. Only those projects with highest ratio of benefits to cost will be implemented. This principle is similar to utilitarian goal of maximizing the overall good. The pitfalls of cost benefit analysis are like something which there are sometimes what happens, we cannot measure something based on pure cost benefit discussion. So it may so happen like the building of a dam may appear to be very excellent idea. So, but this analysis won't include other issues such as whether the benefits outweigh the loss of the scenic wilderness of the area or the loss of an endangered species with no current economic value, because these are very like abstract measures, and it's very difficult to convert it in terms of monetary values. But if we see otherwise, these have great aesthetic value, maybe great value from terms of ecological value, but it may not always be possible to quantify it in terms of monetary value. But that does not mean it does not have any worth. So this is where like utilizing cost benefit analysis may be a problem, because estimating the cost for these, the worth of these abstract type of concepts is very difficult. Finally, it is also important to determine whether those who stand up to reap the benefits are also those who will pay the cost. So it is also very important, like we are talking of the benefits which is important to the majority of people. That's why maybe we are talking of like overlooking sometimes the cost, which is component which is incurred by the loss that is incurred by the some of the stakeholders. But ultimate question comes to, is it who are paying for this cost? So are the beneficiaries who reap the benefits of this project or the engineering activity, are the cost shared by them? Are they paying for the cost also, or somebody different is paying for the cost and somebody different is utilizing the benefits? So it is important to determine whether those who stand up for the benefits are also those who will pay the costs. It is unfair to place all the cost on one group while others reap the benefits. So who are the ultimate beneficiaries? Are they taking the burden also? So whenever it comes of discusses of sharing, the sharing should always be equal for the, like when you talk of the benefits and the burdens. But here we may or may not be able to track that the beneficiaries are they also sharing the burden, parts of the burden, and paying for it, or they are reaping the benefits and somebody others pays for this the cost component. So from there we move on to the next concept, which is called the duty ethics. So these are two theories which goes hand in hand, what we call duty ethics and rights ethics. So duty ethics and right ethics are similar to each other and will be considered together. These theories hold that those actions are good that respect the rights of the individuals. Here, good consequences for society as a whole are not the only moral consideration. So here, from whenever we are talking of utilitarianism, maybe we are taking into concern the interest of a very large group, majority. But here in duty ethics, we are also taking care of the rights of the individuals, and it is like those actions are taken to be ethical or good which respects the rights of the individuals are taken as a part of the duty ethics. So, Immanuel Kant, the major proponent of the duty ethics, said the moral values are very fundamental to the nature of the individual. Ethical actions are those actions that could be written down on a list of duties: be honest, don't cause suffering to other people, be fair to others, etc. These actions are our duties because they express respect for persons, express an unqualified regard for autonomous moral agents, and are universal principles. So, why these are considered to be our duties? Because they express respect for persons, express an qualified regard for autonomous moral agents. So, we have a high regard for them, and are universal principles. So, whichever be the culture and whichever be the time and all, people generally follow these, and that's how these have become universal principles. Once one's duties are recognized, the ethically correct moral actions are obvious. In this formulation, ethical acts are a result of proper performance of one's own duties. So, if we understand what are our duties, responsibilities to the other person, to the other stakeholders, and we strive our best with all proper intentions. If we strive our best with all proper intentions to do our part of duty to the stakeholders, concerned stakeholders, then it will obviously become ethically correct, because there is a good intention to perform our duty, and we understand we owe something to the other person and we need to take up that responsibility and give it back. When you are talking of rights ethics was formulated by John Locke, whose statement was that humans have a right to life, liberty and property, was paraphrased in the Declaration of Independence of the soon to be United States of America in 1776. Rights ethics holds that people have fundamental rights that other people have a duty to respect. So, please follow these lines. We cannot enjoy certain rights. It is not possible for us to enjoy certain rights if not the other corresponding stakeholder realizes the duty corresponding to that right and respect that right. So, rights and duties actually goes hand in hand. If we do our duties and reciprocate, then only the other stakeholder can enjoy his or her or their part of right. If I do not realize they have a right and I do have a corresponding duty to respect that right, then maybe the stakeholder will not be able to enjoy the fruits of that right. So, again there are certain criticisms of the rights and duties theories, and let us check what they are. So, what may so happen, the basic rights of one person may have a conflict of interest with the basic rights of the another group. So, how do we decide whom to prioritize? Because there is a conflict of basic rights, so it is very difficult to understand whose rights will have a priority or whose rights are we going to prioritize. Using our previous example of the building a dam, like people like have the right to use their property. So, if the land happens to be in the way of the proposed dam, then the right ethics will hold that this property right is paramount and is sufficient to stop the dam project to happen. A single property holder's objection would require that the project be terminated. Why? Because you have a very fundamental right to property, and this project, the way that it is designed, the way that it is passing through, is violating that right. So, again, if you see, the people do have the right to drinking water, and if maybe it's so that if the dam is not there, then they are not going to get those services. So, those two rights are coming into conflict with each other, and then how do we understand which one to prioritize is an ethical dilemma. The second problem with duty and right ethics is that these theories don't always account for the overall good of society very well. So, as it is talking of the individual's rights and individual's duties and vice versa, and maybe it has shifted its focus from the society at large, the well-being of the society at large to a small like to some extent, then they may or may not take into account the overall society's this good when we are focusing on the rights and duties. If not, we are thinking of like we have a duty to the society at large, and we have the duty to respect the rights of each of the stakeholders, and we have to do a cost benefit analysis of if each of the stakeholders are trying to enjoy their rights, then what are the cost component coming on the other related stakeholders, and whether to like how to take care of these costs, and after taking care of the cost, how then we go for the benefit part of it. Next, we will discuss virtue ethics. Virtue ethics decides what kind of person we are. It is often defined as a moral distinction and goodness. A virtuous person exhibits good and beneficial qualities. In virtue ethics, actions are considered right if they support a good character, traits, virtues, and wrong if they support bad character traits or vices. Virtue ethics focuses on words such as responsibility, honesty, competence, and loyalty, which are the virtues. Other virtues might also include trustworthiness, fairness, caring, citizenship, and respect. These you see are defining qualities of the characteristics of a particular person or an organization that defines the nature of that organization or person. Vices could include dishonesty, disloyalty, irresponsibility, or incompetence, and these needs to be avoided. So, we need to promote the virtues, and we need to like not to encourage the vices, and if that is done, then what we can see, it helps in developing a virtuous person who, because that person or that organization nurtures these qualities, this gets reflected in their actions, and then the decision taken by these organizations or individuals are generally ethical in nature, because while you develop a virtuous character for yourself, it gives you a holistic understanding of life, it gives you a holistic perspective of looking at the cost, benefits, rights, and duties of the different interrelated stakeholders from a different perspective in a holistic synergic way, and it gives a different meaning. So, and that is why, because our thought process starts with virtuous in a virtuous defined ways of high quality virtues, and our actions are guided by them, then it is evident that the decision taken will be ethical in nature only. So, like some examples like how we can use virtue ethics in our engineering career, like we can answer these questions: is this action honest? Will this action demonstrate loyalty to my community and or my employer? Have I acted in a responsible way? Often the answer to these questions makes the proper course of action obvious. To use virtue ethics in an analysis of an ethical problem, we should first identify which are the virtues or vices that are particularly applicable to that particular situation. So, after that, then we should determine what course of action each of these to suggest. So, in virtue ethics, it is important, very, very important to ensure that the traits that are identified are virtuous, are indeed virtuous, and will not lead to any negative consequences. So, we have to map the traits with the that gives rise to the nature of the person and the outcome that it is leading to, and we have to ensure like these are the virtues which end product will be virtuous in nature and will not to lead to any negative consequences. Based on this, what we can do is we can take up a discussion of the different ethical dimensions, and this is called Mc Cuen's ethical dimension. So, just like Kohlberg's stages of moral development, we can tell like these are three stages of development of ethical dimension, and it can be, it leads to 6 categories of professional engineering morality. So, stage 1 is like pre-professional. It is the concern is for the gain of the individual, not to the company, client or professional. So, this is, if you see like there is a progression of people, moving from the pre-professional stage to the professional stage to moving to the stage of principled professional. So, if you see, when you start with stage 1, the concern is for the gain of the individual, it is primarily for the individual, not to the company, client or profession. So, if you are taking up any project, we find that this has my personal gain and maybe it is costly for the organization also, we try to recommend it. Stage 2, corporate loyalty, client confidence, proper conduct are pursued, but again only for the personal gain and advancement. So, you exhibit corporate loyalty and you try to gain on client confidence and proper conduct, all these you do, but again it is only interest for personal gain and advancement. Tomorrow, if this you are not able to visualize the personal gain and advancement which are involved in these activities, it may so happen that you may lose your interest in them. Level 2 is called professional. Stage 3 is loyalty to company is a primary focus. which you see like which is a progression from stage 2. Team player behavior precludes concern for society and environment. So, here you are generally from individual, you are moving to a collective concept of team, where you are thinking not for only the welfare of yourself, but you are talking of the like other people involved also. Stage 4, loyalty to company is connected to loyalty to the profession. So, there is a certain professional rules, regulations, ethics stated, which are guiding principles of to those who are professionals, how they should behave with respect to certain conditions and why. So, here in stage 4 I find loyalty to company is connected to the loyalty to the profession. Good engineering is good for the profession, but the societal concerns are not emphasized over here. When we move on to the stage 5 in terms of principled professional, what we find like though in stage 4 societal roles or concerns are not very emphasized, in stage 5 what we find in principled professionalism, professional like the service to human welfare is paramount, societal rules, morals and values may triumph, professional standards and corporate loyalty. Stage 6 is professional conduct is guided solely by a sense of fairness and genuine concern for the society. So, we are going for like sole what is fair to the company at large, what is fair for the society at large, and how they are going to treat the individuals, what is the effect on the environment. These are important questions. Decisions are based only on well established personal principles and may contradict professional codes and even societal rules. So, decisions are based only on well established personal principles and may contradict with professional codes and even social rules. So, here also what are your personal principles and how they may contradict with your professional codes and rules, these also needs to be checked, because what you are developing in yourself is a competency for decision making as a true professional. So, professional conduct is guided solely by a sense of fairness and genuine concern for society. So, here again your focus is on the society, individuals and the environment. So, your focus like broadens towards the general concern for the society, individuals and the environment. Decisions are based only on well established personal principles and may contradict professional codes and even societal the social rules. So, decision at this stage, when you are talking of principled professional stage, and based only on well established personal principles, that the virtues that you have got ingrained within oneself, and may contradict professional codes and social rules also. So, here because you listen to your inner conscience, you listen to the voice within and try to find out what it is telling you, trying to tell you, because there lies your holistic power of judgment. And even though it sometimes may show contradiction with the professional codes and even societal rules, and then you have to take a balance and take a call like whom to listen to. If you talk of listening to your like inner voice and be virtuous in nature, then you have moved to stage 6 of principled professionalism. So, now question comes, when we know of all these different ethical theories, can it be used together? Does it need to be used separately? Which will be used when and how? So, we are going to discuss those now in details. So, what we need to understand that in solving ethical problems, we do not have to choose from among the theories. Rather, what can we do? We can use all of them to analyze the problem from different perspectives and see what is the result that the each of these theory is giving to us. So, these allows us to examine a problem from different perspectives to see what conclusion each one reaches. Frequently, the result will be the same even though the theories are different. So, if we see, we have taken different paths, and if we see like moving through these different paths, we are coming to a conclusion, then it is fine. But it may so happen the results may not be same also, and but taking these different perspectives, we are able to see the different angles of the problem, and then may we do again a analysis. We may take a decision on like the which is that path which takes care of the cost or harm and gives us the maximum benefit to the society at large, and we need to travel through that path. So, what we can do, like we can take a small example over here which talks of like when you have discussed these theories, we can take a particular example to find out like as an illustration what is happening and which are the theories that we need to use. So, that we can see like how do we reach a conclusion. So, here what we have seen, like we have different theories of decision making. We have gone through the 4 theories. We have understood like what are the pros and cons of each of the theories, but again a question may arise, like given a situation, given a problem at hand, what are which of these theories we will be applying. This we will take up in the next session with a case, and we will try to see how to use each of these theories over there. Thank you.